In the interest of the learners, this video is brought to you by Educationist Guru.
Sustainable development is defined as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. For achieving sustainable development, it is vital to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, to have gender equality and empowering all women, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, ensure access to affordable, reliable and sustainable modern energy systems, promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all, building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization and fostering innovation, reducing inequality within and among countries, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Sustainable development can be achieved by following means: by controlling the population, by using 3Rs: reduce, reuse and recycle, emphasizing on the use of clean energy, by minimizing the use of non-renewable fossil fuels, making pollution under controls. The energy requirements of urban population are much higher than that of rural ones. This is because urban people have a higher standard of life and their lifestyle demands more energy inputs in every sphere of life. The energy demanding activities include residential and commercial lighting, transportation means including automobiles and public transport for moving from residence to workplace, modern lifestyle using a large number of electrical gadgets in everyday life, industrial plants using a big proportion of energy, a large amount of waste generation which has to be disposed of properly using energy-based techniques, control and prevention of air and water pollution which needs energy-dependent technologies. Due to high population density and high energy demanding activities, the urban problems related to energy are much more magnified as compared to the rural population. Water conservation is a practice in which people, companies and governments attempt to reduce their water usage. Methods that can be adopted for waste disposal management is by reducing unaccounted for water like leakage detection, reducing illegal connections and unmetered connections, water restrictions like intermittent supplies, retrofitting, wastewater reuse, water tariffs, public awareness, and conservation for industrial use. Water conservation measures that can be taken by industries and manufacturing units include using dry cooling systems or cooling towers that use less water, reuse the cooling water for irrigation or other purposes. Industries and manufacturing units should curb water withdrawals wherever possible by increasing in-plant treatment and recycling of water or by developing new equipment and processes that requires less water. Recycled water should be used for floor washing and other sanitary uses and purposes. Rainwater harvesting is usually taken to mean the immediate collection of rainwater running off surfaces upon which it has fallen directly. This definition excludes runoff from land watersheds into streams, rivers, lakes, etc. Hence, it is the catching of rainwater when it falls and storing to use during the non-rainy season. Rainwater harvesting techniques are basically comprises of two main techniques, which is storage of rainwater on surface for future use, and second is recharge to groundwater. When the first one is the storage of rainwater on surface is a traditional technique and structures used where underground tanks, ponds, check dams, weirs, etc. Recharge to groundwater is a new concept of rainwater harvesting and the structures generally used are pits. Recharge pits are constructed for recharging the shallow aquifer. These are constructed 1 to 2 meter wide and 3 meter deep, which are backfilled with the boulders, gravels, coarse sand. Importance of rainwater harvesting and future. Rainwater harvesting plays an important role in agriculture. It is useful for urban areas. It is important to save the water for the future. Thus, it is important to improve rainwater harvesting through technical and financial prospects. The advantages of rainwater harvesting is relatively cheap materials can be used for construction of containers and collecting surfaces. Construction methods are relatively straightforward, low maintenance costs and requirements. They are environment friendly, increase the groundwater level and quality, mitigates the effect of drought, reduces the runoff, and helps in also reducing the soil erosion, helps in reducing water and electricity bills, provides a supply of safe water close to homes, schools or clinics, encourages increased consumption, reduces the time women and children spend collecting water, reduces back strain or injuries from carrying heavy water containers. Although there are some disadvantages of rainwater harvesting, which are supplies can be contaminated by bird or animal droppings on catchment surfaces and guttering structures unless they are cleaned, flushed before use. Poorly constructed water jars containers can suffer from algal growth and invasion by insects, lizards, and rodents. They can act as a breeding ground for disease vectors if they are not properly maintained. Regular maintenance should be needed, and unpredictable rainfall is also a disadvantage. A watershed is a basin-like landform defined by high points and ridgelines that descend into lower elevation and stream valleys. In other words, a watershed describes an area of land that contains a common set of streams and rivers that all drain into a single larger body of water, such as a larger river, a lake, or an ocean. A watershed or catchment is defined as any surface varying from a few hectares to several thousand square kilometers in which rainfall is collected and conveyed to a common natural waterway. Watershed is a geohydrological unit draining runoff water at a common point, and it could be demarcated based on ridges and gully lines. Environmental ethics is the study or application of ethical standards to relationship between human and non-human entities. Ethics is the study of good and bad, right and wrong, moral principles or values held by a person or society, promoting human welfare, maximizing freedom, minimizing pain and suffering. Ethics is a prescriptive pursuit. It helps us to how we are to behave. Ethical standards are the criteria that help differentiate right from wrong. The objective of environmental ethics is understand the concept of basic and non-basic rights, morals, deontological and teleological ethical perspective, understand the impact of different cultural value systems on relationship of humans with the environment, objectively analyze environmental problem and compare it with different contrast of world's view, prevailing Western views of environment, develop informed, objective perspective and judgment on environmental issues, articulate responsibilities to humans regarding global posterity. Importance of environmental ethics helps us in making us aware of the indiscriminate and destructive human activities, inculcate moral values towards nature and learn to respect various life forms through environmental ethics, concerned with the issues of responsible personal conduct with respect to natural landscape, resources, species and non-human organisms. Conduct with the respect to person is of course the direct concern of modern philosophy. Climate change is defined as a significant and important change in temperature, rainfall, moisture, wind velocity because of the environmental pollution or the pollutants. Potential impacts of global climate change on human health. Global climate change effects results in temperature, increase in temperature, sea level and precipitation, which further affects in storms and flooding and increase in heat, the result of which is mortality and displacement of individuals. Vector biology results in infectious diseases. Air pollutants results in respiratory diseases like asthma or weakness of lungs, which is termed as a bronchitis by medical professionals. Food supply limited results in malnutrition, and civil conflict again results in mortality and displacement of individuals. Global warming is the gradual increase in the overall temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, generally attributed to the greenhouse effect. The impact of global warming is like frequent temperature extremes, clear heat waves, changing rainfall patterns, rise in sea levels, frequent storms and coastal flooding. Changes in regional climate could alter forest crop yields and water supplies. Drought, food shortages due to shift in agriculture food production, greater warming near the poles, air pollution made worse by warming, asthma, bronchitis, emphysema complications, expansion of deserts into existing rangelands, and unable to contain spread of infectious diseases. The negative impacts of global warming is rise in like sea levels, inundation of freshwater marshlands, low-lying cities and islands with seawater, droughts and fires in some areas, flooding in other areas, melting of the ice caps, loss of habitat near the poles, melting glaciers, significant melting of old glaciers, massive extinction of species due to habitat loss, spread of vector-borne diseases such as malaria to warmer regions, bleaching of coral reefs due to acidification. One third of coral reefs now disappeared. When we thin green or add green, it helps in preventing pollution. It helps in reducing waste, dry composting of biodegradable waste garbage, using water, energy and other resources efficiently, uses the natural resources prudently, maintaining the diversity of life. It helps in protecting the world's natural, cultural and indigenous heritage, support environmental education, support local action and community participation, and it also helps in promoting practices, methods and technologies that reduce negative impacts on the environment. Acid rain is formed when sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides as gases or fine particles in the atmosphere combine with water vapor and precipitate as sulfuric acid or nitric acid in rain, snow or fog. Precipitation that has a pH of less than that of natural rainwater, which is about 5.6 due to dissolved carbon dioxide. Harmful effects of acid rain on terrestrial ecosystems includes damaging leaves and needles, decreased ability of trees to tolerate cold, weakened trees either are killed or become susceptible to diseases, causes leaching of basic essential elements, causes dissolution of iron, aluminum, magnesium from minerals, can cause human respiratory diseases such as bronchitis and asthma. Whereas harmful effect of acid rain on aquatic ecosystems results in loss of essentially all fish population below a pH of 4.5. Dissolution and release of aluminum ions from minerals can kill many kinds of fish. Accumulation in fish of heavy metals pose health hazards to humans, mammals and birds. Ozone layer is found between the stratosphere and the troposphere. The ozone layer filters out and converts UV light into heat energy. This makes it a higher temperature than other parts of the upper atmosphere. Ozone layer depletion is the reduction of the amount of ozone in the stratosphere caused by substances formed from breakdown of ozone depleting substances. Manufactured chemicals are the main cause of its depletion. Ozone depletion occurs when the natural balance between production and destruction of stratospheric ozone is tipped in favor of destruction. The destruction of the ozone layer is caused due to one main factor, which is the release of chemicals which contain chlorine and bromine such as chlorofluorocarbons, as an abbreviation is used as CFCs, into the atmosphere by human activity. CFCs are released into the atmosphere through the use of aerosols and cooling systems in fridges, refrigerators. The CFCs released into the atmosphere do not break down and therefore remain stable within the atmosphere for between 20 to 120 years. The chlorine contained within the CFCs break down the ozone gases in the ozone layer, which further increases ozone depletion. Solution to this problem, it is like wholly relies on us, the humans. The following are the solutions for decreasing the ozone hole in the atmosphere. Firstly, the consumption of all the CFCs should be completely stopped. Companies should be held responsible for the disaster they are causing to the environment, and we should use the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle initiatives so that the next generation does not have to go through problems made by us, and the use of CFCs should be completely banned.